Okay. So welcome to our very first talk on AI as part of our OBA Industry Speaker Series. We've been looking for folks who will be experts, who've seen the world and can kind of share with you where they see the world going. And I can't thank our OMBA program enough, because we have two executives today who are ducks, right? And they have wealth of experience with them. So first of all, it's my real pleasure to welcome, Sandhiprakash Bhide. He is the CEO of Balak Drishti. That's an Indian word. It means somehow finding vision for multitudes of kids, millions of kids, right? So how to get them glasses. In the underdeveloped parts of the world, how to make sure that no kid goes without a vision corrective glasses when needed. He's got a whole science of what goes on there being developed. And he's got some other enterprises. So you're really at people who've led multiple careers in the main corporate world, and then pursuing their passions through entrepreneurship and beyond. And we also have Subba Vanka. I met him through our current OEB program and our office hours, which is literally just chatting away on what's happening in the real world. I expressed my desire saying, Subba, if you can help us connect with all the friends in your community who can kind of give us a path towards getting a view of AI in the real world. He said, oh no, don't worry, I have a lot of friends. And that's how we got our first friend here. And I was supposed to take him to night campus and show him things. Instead, we had to have a cup of coffee, and we were almost late coming here because like 2 hours passed. Like I couldn't believe how much I was learning in those 2 hours, soaking up all the questions, and he was very patiently answering every bit of it. So I can tell that this first visit is a gateway to a very sustained engagement where we will learn a lot as faculty. We'll bring a lot for students over time. And more than that, we'll bring the energy of this network to really have an impact on years to come. Long beyond my retirement, when our then faculty like Pradeep, Penem or others will take over. But this is a journey that's just starting today. So I'm very excited about this start into this kind of arena for us, which is very new. And so with that, I'll just, Sandeep, pleasure to have you here. Thank you. Yeah.
First of all, thank you very much, Subba, and also Nagesh for bringing me here. I'm not an expert as much as he wants to say. I'm just a student, just like you, except I have gray hair. Because as you all know, it's a learning process for the rest of your life. And I'm still learning. Every day I'm learning about what's happening in AI. And I feel more studentish than feeling any expert. So what I'm going to do today is give you a feel for what I know, what I think. It could be totally wrong because the rate at which this field of AI is changing is so rapid that I'm having a hard time keeping up with it. But you're all young minds, and I'm sure you can soak it up without any problem. So welcome all of you. Today it's a conversation, it's not a lecture, and I have about 40-ish years of experience in high tech. I worked for Intel and Tektronix, all was in Portland. I retired in 2016, and then I co-founded a firm with a CEO. He was also another OMBA guy, and today he still lives in Eugene. And then I'm also working on a committee called Edison Awards, and you can look at that. It's basically looking at top innovations that are happening all around the world. But on and beyond that, I'll spend a little more time on that, is what he mentioned about Balak Drishti. It's all about child vision. That is a main problem around the world. As you probably may or may not know, there are close to 1 billion people on the planet today who cannot even see properly. So that's about 1/7 of the world's population. And that's something that I'm trying to work on. I have, as I mentioned, 40 years in high tech. I have been raising money, charity money. I have helped a project. That figure is now 600,000 children have been screened. So most of my time has been in high tech. So what we are going to do is spend some time here. I want to give you some models. And my idea today is not to give you detailed knowledge, but to give you enough to think what this is all about. So if you look at a pyramid, you probably have seen a similar pyramid of data, information, knowledge, and wisdom, right? Most of the time we have data that's coming out of photographs, it coming out of text, it coming out of wiki pages, medical records, and what have you. You have to take that data and bubble it to where it becomes meaningful, it becomes information. So you have to take that data and contextualize it. So having an XYZ location on your GPS is just pure data. Now that XYZ location happens to be University of Oregon, and this particular location now is more information. Right? The second place, the third place, so information is more processed and contextualized. And then if it happens too many times, for example, if I go to the same Starbucks again and again, now you are probably learning more about me. Maybe I like coffee, right? So it's not just location XYZ, not that it's just Starbucks, but that I go there, 4 times a week. It tells me about a pattern. It tells me about a rule. You still don't know what kind of coffee I like. Maybe I like latte or Americano. But on and beyond that, you have to start making judgments. And if you look at where does AI sit today, we are still at knowledge level. We have started touching the wisdom part. And wisdom part is where you take all your information and you think that what you have, nobody knows, if you haven't thought about it. And to me, there is one more layer on top of that I normally don't put because it kind of gets into metaphysical description, which is intuition. Because it's hard for me to say, how do scientists think about dark matter? It's not something that you can churn AI databases and think about dark matter or what quarks, what proton is made out of up and down quarks. That's pure out, but that I haven't put it here because we still have to get to that first level. So this is an architectural overview. I think NVIDIA had put it together. At the very bottom, if you look at what I call classic AI, right? You weren't even born at that time, I'm assuming. We had computer programs that were, doing low-level thinking stuff, like playing chess, right? Those were basically rules, logic, very clearly. If you move king here and queen there, what happens and what are the next moves? The machine learning is sort of it's related now predicting rules and classifying them, and you can look at a group of data and say kids are having year over year, the drinking age has been coming down. Right? Now you can see a pattern that it used to be kids used to drink at 21, now it's 18, maybe it's 16. Now you are talking about regression, meaning it gives you somewhat capability of predicting the future. This is happening up till this now. But that is also, as you can see in AI, that linear regression model has not helped. Now we are going crazy. The third one is really representation learning. That means a pattern starts emerging through that process. Deep learning is still one step going deeper and not looking at one layer, but going deeper and deeper into layer. We are at a stage, and I'm assuming that now that how many of you are working with AI and AI models, whether it is, how many of you use AI? You all do?
They all do ChatGPT and other things.
ChatGPT, Gemini, all of that, Cloud, Grok.
Only the professors are behind, students are there.
So now we have gotten from a stage of getting the data in to now actually using that information to create new text, new music, new videos, all of that. And then the last page is agentic AI, which is now using it to that's kind of frontier now. We are not quite there. AI just doesn't respond that way. It plans and uses tools and executes, multi-step tasks and autonomously. And I can give you examples how I'm using it in my research. I use it extensively, and I can go very deep in. It used to be that we used to write code. Now the code is written for you. So the question for you is, where do you think, where you are all interacting, at what level? Out of these 6 levels. By the way, this is meant to be interactive, so.
I think it's generative AI.
I think you're pretty much right. We are inching towards the level 6, but we are pretty much at 5. Right? Just to expand a little bit, what I wanted to do is, I started my life, computing life, probably in 1978. And I had seen, you probably don't know these microprocessors, but I started with 8080 and 8286, then 386, and then 486. You probably have not even heard these names because they were generations behind. But what I want to do is differentiate between the classical computing and give you some examples as going forward how AI is changing. I brought a book just to show you. This is a course that I took. It was a 700 course called Artificial Intelligence in 1981. And we had AI, but it was highly computational. I'll give you, I'm making a little digression here. Just to ask a camera to take a picture and to realize what the shape is, you know what we were doing? We were taking a picture. Then we were running some algorithms, like edge algorithms. So we look at the color here, the grading here, and here there is an edge. So you look at the differentiation between pixels at each edge. Then you subtract the rest of the body. Then you find, oh, here is the edge, and now you are looking at whether does this mean x squared plus y squared equal to r squared? Then it's a circle. If it is x squared by a squared plus y squared or b squared, oh my God, this is elliptic. So all of this was taking time, and in those time, just to find something was square or rectangle on a high main frame took 5 to 6 minutes just to figure out. I was also working on an example. I think Nagesh was mentioning some of his experiences. I was an F1 student, so I was getting films that were run by U2, reconnaissance aeroplane, U2. They were flying over Cuba, and they were coming pictures, and my job was to figure out whether something was an aeroplane or a bunker or whatever. So I had standard images of what a bunker looked like, what a big aeroplane looked like. And then you scan the damn thing, just one film, to figure out what all is on that picture. And it took half an hour, 1 hour of just sheer compute time. So that's where we were. When I say classical computing, the difference here is we are doing explicit rules and very deterministic logic, and we are learning patterns from data. We had humans who were writing instructions and telling computers what to do. Now our system is learning by example and creating code. So we are writing code to understand intelligence. Now our collective patterns are telling what kind of code to write. There was no ambiguity. It was very deterministic. Here we are working with fuzzy logic. A cat and a tiger and a lion kind of look the same. They have tails and ears and face and whiskers, but there are other aspects that you learn from patterns. I'm not going to read the whole thing. By the way, I'm going to leave a PDF copy with him, so you can still take a look at it at a later time. But it was very deterministic. Do this, here is the rule, either it passes or not passes. We had gone from that to generally what does this look like, and then start distilling it down to coming out with a conclusion. By the way, as I mentioned, this is this is meant to be a conversational. I'm showing it here, but stop me anytime. So as I was mentioning, at the step one, you need data, texts and books and images and videos and audios, and we are getting data from sensors, right? Whether it is a Nest or whether water is leaking in your washer and dryer from washer and dryer, they're all sensors. Now there are going to be spurious data, some are not going to be good data, bad data, so you have to take that data and clean it up, remove all the noise. If they're complex words, you have to remove them. So the second layer talks about taking the data and fine-tuning it, curing the data, and set some guide rails. So for example, I work with a lot of clinical data, and I know most of the kids have, if you look at their eye prescriptions, they are from somewhere between 0 to -2.5. So that's guardrails, but there are kids who have -8, -10, right? So not only I have to set the guardrails, but I also have to look at what are the outliers and when I clean the data to make sure somebody hasn't typed 0.8 and have written 8. So you have to look at that data and fine tune it. Then the step 3, which is the foundational models. There are probably half a dozen, I'm saying hundreds probably by now, if I look at all over the world. These are, Claude, Anthropic, in the last 4 months, they have been coming into press quite a bit. I use Claude very extensively. And of course, I use Gemini, Grok. I'm a cheap guy, so I use free versions. I do stuff with Grok, and it says your time limit is done. I go to another one and continue my work. So I use multitude of them, just being very cheaper. There is a difference between using and really understanding how AI works. And so the difference is you build tools based on those models above. Where does the data for the models come? It comes all from level 1, level 2. We are taking oodles, petabytes of data. Do you have an idea when an aeroplane goes from Portland to Eugene or Portland to San Francisco, say 1 hour flight, it creates petabytes of data. Because every sensor, everything that is on there on the airplane, and when your airplane docks at the airport, instantly that data goes in, picked up, some goes to United or Delta, some goes to Boeing, so they know exactly what's happening with your data, right? So you're taking decisions. It's not looking at petabytes of data, nobody can. So you have to use AI systems to say, point here, I think there's a problem with auxiliary power unit, there's a problem with this, problem with that, right? So you want AI to pare that data down to minimal that you can chew. I want to show you some AI applications, and then I'm going to also focus on AI applications that are today. Today in healthcare and medicine, I'm sure you are a lot of aware, there are thousands of X-rays, right? A human, I shouldn't say thousands, millions of X-rays that you are looking at. And not every person is accustomed to looking at each and every. Night and we were talking about it. It is physically impossible for it to look at, and not only that, as a human you might forget things like, I should be looking here, and if there are multiple people, you have some redundancy at least that somebody else picks up. But with computer, you want to sift through millions of them, right? In software and coding, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I'm sure a lot of these tools are actually spitting out codes. I wrote an entire, for my own application, I'll spend some time there. I went to Claude and basically said, I want to build a program, a client program that runs on both iPod and Android. And I exactly told what it do. And it actually, literally within 10 minutes, an app was already running on here. So that productivity is extremely important for me. That doesn't mean that's the final answer. I'll still tweak things, but it takes me all the way there. And all I have to do is tweak. Business and finance. I used to. What is this company in Washington D.C. now that everybody is putting stock in? I forgot the name. I'll come to it. But what they do is they look at financial data, petabytes of data, and they can pin out exactly who is laundering money, who is misusing money. So it's an extremely important tool for them to look at financial data from millions of companies, sifting through the data. I think it's computing here. What's the name? Palantir. That was the name that I was looking at. Palantir. That's one company that I was introduced probably 15 years ago, 12 years ago. And I had, at that time, they were not that hot. And I was able to get some insights into how they use it. The Security and Exchange Commission can use that data. Hospitality, retail, I mean, all the way from hotel experience to when you walk in, they already know who you are based on past experience. Do you like soft pillow or hard pillow? Do you like coffee? Do you like, I mean, all of the data is all focused on helping your customer satisfaction. I don't want to go through every detail because we have some time limits, but climate, right? It's literally petabytes of data. And modeling of climate data. I was going to make a joke, but I won't. In the current politics, all that AI and science has been left aside, and now we are on a totally different path. We just call it hoax. But AI is not calling it hoax. AI knows what it is doing, and the comments and the conclusions that are coming, they are absolutely scientific. And the transportation of robotics. I mean, a simple thing when Amazon delivers you, right? It has stuff from maybe hundreds of customers. It automatically figures out which is the least, which is the fastest and the least easiest path so that it uses minimum amount of gasoline. And on the way, you might have pickups. So it's in real time, it's telling you where to go, how to go, what to pick up. It also looking at your efficiency of your truck. In the back, you know, some boxes are square, some are rectangles, some are round, some are long. It's also figuring out where should these all go and how they should fit. It's all about efficiency. And so there are lots of places where this is, I just put 6, there are probably hundreds of applications. The specific
comment on something?
Sure.
Should
I go back?
Yeah. You talked about, deterministic, logic-driven versus pattern-driven, right?
Yeah.
In these applications, are both coming together? So in terms of leveraging both, like after the OR feed and the pattern feed together, they're merging. And what is your feed?
I'll tell you my experience. I think they're all both merging because it all depends upon what your parameter is, right? I used to work on projects at Intel. I'm giving you an example where I want to go from point A to point B, and I get to define: do I want to go there fastest, or do I want least amount of fare? Should I walk? Should I bike? Should I take a bus? Should I take a train? Should I do whatever? Some people might say, I want to go to the places where there's the least amount of pollution, right? I don't mind paying more, but I don't want to breathe carbon monoxide. So it's doing what you said and more, both. Any other questions? No? You're just all soaking, or you're trying to figure out where to get out, when to get out. But at least you're going to get out of here with maybe a tiny bit of extra knowledge. The work that I'm doing with Balakrishna has 2 issues. I'll give you one example. There are over 1 billion people on this planet who need simple things like glasses. You're all students. So what is your primary important thing? You want to see what the professor is talking on your blackboard. If you cannot see that, think about can you learn. So the first and foremost important task for all of you is to be able to see the face of your teacher, what he's teaching, and learn from it. And today there are 1 billion people on the planet who cannot even see at a distance. Out of that 239 million are children who cannot read the blackboard. What do? What happens? It affects their hand-eye coordination. it affects their prefrontal cortex, it affects their decision-making capability, executive functions, and learnability. What do these kids do? They become inefficient contributors to the society. And what lies in between is a pair of glasses, right? So that's the part that I'm working on. So that's one aspect which is purely visual, how AI can help in that process. What does that include? It involves screening the child. After you screen, you find out what they need, being able to give them glasses. You can't just give them glasses, then you have to monitor whether they're actually using them glasses. And then the beyond that is, as kids are growing, your head size changes, so your frame size changes, your prescription changes, so you have to check them, the same person, every 6 months, right? And then you have to educate them. You know, I used to take out glasses like this. Well, now these are all spring-loaded, so it's okay. But then they started becoming, crooked. So simple thing, right? You have to take glasses with both hands so they remain in their shape. So there is an education part. How do you even find out if a child needs glasses? Because many children, especially in developing world, whether it's Latin America, in Africa, in India, Asia, kids don't even know that they need glasses. They think this fuzzy world that's out there is what true nature is. Until you put a pair of lenses in front of them, for the first time they see birds, for the first time they see stars, for the first time they see Milky Way, for the first time they can read the road signs. Until then they think that's what it is. So I'm trying to use all these AI techniques to be able to predict what a child is going to need, what kind of eyeglasses I'm going to need. Eyeglasses are also, there is a supply chain from producer to consumer. There are wholesale dealers, there are logistics providers, there are distributors, there are retail shops. How do you take that inefficiency out of everything and make it efficient? And I'm using AI to be able to help reduce the waste, make it efficient, make it most affordable. And if somebody is interested, I can talk to you a little more in detail, maybe at a later time. But even simple things like, whenever you check, you go to a school and check maybe 100 children, at the end of the day you have to write a report. Now all of you know, you do your assignments, report writing is the most boring thing. So what do? Simple things, I keep the phone on, I keep talking. There is a natural language processor that converts my speech into text, and I have an AI agent running that turns that automatically into a report. Right? All of these mundane tasks is what, for example, even in this PowerPoint, I wrote most of the PowerPoint, but fonts and colors, I just told Grok, do this for me, so it just printed it up. Where my focus is in content, not the looks. Not that I don't care for looks, I do care for looks. Now that this AI thing has come up, everybody in the world is after that. The primary people who are focusing is, of course, the United States, where a lot of innovation is happening. In the frontier model leadership, in terms of OpenAI, Anthropic, Google, we think, we might be beating our own chest that we think we are 6 months ahead. But I think the rest of the world is pretty catching up. So what used to be a differentiation may not be there. NVIDIA is there with chip dominance because now we can have 32 and 64 tiny machines banging on what's coming in and classifications and all the information. The problem with US is it takes 3 years to build data centers. When I was in Oregon, I live in Oregon, we wanted to put a data center in Hillsboro, and we were working with Portland General Electric to get a bus. You know what a bus is, electrical bus. That's what, maybe it's an engineering term, but to get that in for the power needs of data center, PG couldn't deliver it. Because where do you get electricity? We don't like coal. We don't like nuclear power station in our backyard. So on one hand, AI is demanding gigawatts of power, but we don't have enough power. And if we want to build it, we are lagging behind. And people don't like coal. It's different in China. there are probably, as I said, 1,400 open source AI models. You know, the electricity capacity is about twice. They can build infrastructure at an extraordinary rate. What takes 3 years can be done in China in about 3 months. And yeah, I think this was a year ago, we were surprised with DeepSeek that it shocked the world because they were able to achieve a lot in a very fraction of cost. And then I spent about a month and a half in January and February in India. And India is now getting in there big time. They are building large data centers. I still worry about where the electricity is going to come from. But it's a national AI mission. And every CEO from every single place was brought in. And India thinks that's their what do you call it, golden nugget that they want to hang to. Just like 20 years ago, it was software and services, right? India didn't have hardware, but they had oodles of software engineers from Tata Consultancy and Infosys and wherever. And now they're realizing that these people are going to be out of job. So now they're getting on the AI bandwagon. Just like any technology, when we bring it in, it has negativity associated with it. You probably remember the famous conversation around 1940s time when we first realized that we can split an atom. There were few people like Oppenheimer who were thinking, yes, we are building bombs, but there is an ethical dilemma there because now we suddenly have a capacity to kill tens and hundreds of thousands of people with one shot. And that's scary. So there are people who are looking at debit and credit, the pluses and minuses, you know, of bringing new technologies. And ethics is still lagging so much behind. I have a very dear friend, his name is Sandhiprakash Bhide, he's from Mumbai. You can look at his website called strategicforesight.com. He is a diplomat, and he probably knows maybe 60 or 70 presidents in power, prime ministers all around the world by phone call. What does his diplomacy do? He's basically saying we are at a stage we are going to launch stuff based on AI outcome. So think about an AI system makes a judgment that there is an ICBM coming with nuclear overhead towards you. What are your options? Human brains can hardly think about it in terms of what decision to make. There are two problems. What if it is a real nuclear bomb sitting on an ICBM and it's going to land in Washington or New York? So you have to act on it. The other choice could be dummy signal that AI made some judgments, and now you're actually counteracting with your own nuclear warhead to counter that. So you can see we are not killing one person. Now this technology has and by the way, US, UK, France, all of these with nuclear warheads have already started thinking how AI can help them militarily. And it's a horrible thing. We are right at the cusp of making wrong decisions. I hope we never ever make them. And that's why I think ethics is important, is because there are positive aspects. You can use all the nuclear knowledge in making nuclear medicine, finding out problems, all the resonance equipment that you have. You can, the AlphaFold solved the 50-year-old protein problem. Those are constructive uses of technology. You can use this for, I mentioned we have a large-scale problem in optometry and eyes. So you can help AI doctors, and you can take the boring and dirty jobs out of your pictures. But there are also negative effects. There are always bad actors who are looking at deep fakes and synthesizing media that doesn't exist. And for example, I feel I have a knack that I can easily figure out but now you need new AI tools to figure out whether something is deep sec. So you have an AI working to figure out if something is deep sec, right? And then second one is what I mentioned, AI guided drones and cyber attacks. And we are actually, if you look at him, he actually does talk at the United Nations Security Council and presents his case about taking AI, forcing nations to completely take AI out of armaments. Because you can fall in wrong hands and it can annihilate the earth. Remember that layer model? It is as good as the data put in. If you just put in specific data that's related to whites and not black and Latino and brown people, then your models are going to be tuned to only white people, right? So it's a question of what is it a unbiased data, or you are biasing your data so your AI is making the appropriate conclusions that suit to your data. And that's in the hands of the models, that's in the hands of what kind of data you put in. And so that's the algorithmic bias that AI perpetuates and amplifies existing using human discrimination. Right? Unless somebody says, I'm going to put data that is unconnected, unbiased, mass surveillance. I used to travel to China all the time. It is said, I don't know, that there are probably more cameras than there are people. In London, in China, where you are continuously looked at, you know who is who, your facial recognition, so they know exactly where you are going, what you are doing, everything else. And it sits right in the middle of human freedom and policing your life. Anyway, you probably know where I'm going with this, but there are good sides and bad sides.
So I have a question from
Sure.
an academic standpoint, in terms of ethics and challenges, right? I think when the last 2-3 years, as the ChatGPT of the world, in the education system, we offer assignments, all these things, right? It was 10 years back, our professors gave assignments, our students did it.
Yeah.
It was in a very different way.
Yeah.
You had resources, but you did not have resources which could just completely substitute for the work, right?
Yeah.
But early on, the academics' reaction has been plagiarism.
Yeah.
We should not allow it, right?
Yeah.
We've done that for the last 2 years, but I think now academia is realizing maybe there's a different way to teach.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't have to be no use at all.
Yeah.
How do you find new ways of teaching so that this can actually be leveraged and prepare our students in position to actually take advantage of this when they get into jobs, right?
Yeah.
So I think in this space also sometimes nobody has the right answers.
Yeah.
And it's perhaps some kind of experimentation. So from an industry person's perspective, how do you think academia should be navigating this terrain about, like I think for Subha's assignments in OEMBA, we still say, cannot use AI for the most part, right?
That's right.
And industry will say, what the heck is this, you know? What if you create something where I can actually do much more with AI than this little thing without AI? So I want to hear both your perspectives on where you stand from industry perspective, because ultimately industry is what is going to happen. What would they expect in terms of how we should train our students? Any kind of thoughts? Just off the cuff is okay, but
Off the cuff,
yeah.
I think it's the same with what happened with quantum mechanics. Initially, we were thinking, splitting atom, we are going to use energy. But if you use it as nuclear medicine, if you use it for GPS, if you use it for, if AI is used to enhance human beings' quality of life, to me it's a good use. If I'll give you simple examples, right? I'm typing numbers. Many times I go to these iCamps and I'm typing numbers. Somebody says, left eye, right eye prescriptions, and I'm typing that in an Excel spreadsheet. Sometimes instead of minus 2.5, I write 3.5. I want help to say, hey, have you checked this? Right? That's a good use. Right? If students are using it just to pose themselves saying they're smart versus being very smart. Did I use AI? Yes, I used AI. Just to beautify, because I don't want to create, I didn't want to worry about font and color and this. I used AI for that. But the content that's in is still mine. So at the some place students have to think, and we had this discussion about great versus learning. Are you just trying to beautify your assignments to look great and pose as if you are smart to the teacher, or you really want to learn? and mundane things. You know, for example, I have a habit of mixing tenses. So one paragraph might be in present tense, the other is future. So I just tell them, hey, just make everything past tense. That to me is not, I'm not shying away, or I'm not falsifying anything. I'm not giving a wrong impression. It's just a consistency and look and feel. That's my feeling. There are peaceful uses and there are destructive uses. I don't know what his thinking is.
From an academic perspective or a learning perspective, my view is that it's good that professors say don't use AI when you're going through the basics of learning, because that ensures that students learn the basics of the course or the particular subject that they're being taught. But on the other hand, AI can also be a learning aid, and if it can be used in that way without having to actually find the answers, rather to use AI to check your answers and maybe provide more knowledge, then it may be a fair game. So just from an educational perspective, that's my view.
Right. And I think we are, as faculty, we are kind of struggling to some extent. Always we have some faculty who experiment faster, share with us. It's kind of, I think for us it's on a learning curve now in terms of how to really do it. My dream would be that once the basics are taught the old way, give a bigger challenge where normally students would say, that's unfair, I can't do this. Now we say, use AI now and deal with the bigger challenge maybe. So how that gets communicated in terms of fair, unfair, acceptance or not is something we will learn. But I think my feeling is if that students can feel that doing this gets them a good job, it will spread like fire, acceptance-wise. As of now, we don't have a proof of concept of what they need to know and do well enough that they can differentiate. And but I think certainly it's good to see that students are embracing a lot of experiences in their personal lives with AI.
Yeah.
Which always makes us faculty think, we could actually now expect that they are already street smart and they can kind of run faster or do a bigger job. So
I think the progression of teaching AI tools in the academic environment is students can be prepared to use those tools in the job market and be more productive, and that could be a big plus because they're better prepared with new
just
tools.
Two comments. Anybody who wants to say something from your perspective, what would you like to see AI in the classroom, or what you think would be much better for your learning, or what you think would curtail your learning? Any comments? Because you're hearing, yeah, go ahead.
I think sometimes like when teachers don't want people to use that on a task that's kind of like tedious and just time taking, not that it requires a lot of effort, I think it's kind of just like taking up time where I could actually be learning something that like maybe AI could do as well. I just think that like things that don't, like certain like projects or certain math or whatever that can just easily be done by that, so then like I can apply it conceptually better as like a person, I feel like is more useful to my education, especially as the years go on.
Good. Go ahead.
I also think sometimes like using AI can be helpful in teachers to acknowledge that. They don't exactly do it in the best way. So sometimes they'll be like, yeah, you can use AI if you want them to make practice problems for a quiz or something, but they don't really give you like the way to like maybe type the prompt that'll reflect the way the content is meant to be taught. And I also think like writing blanket statements, like writing AI off on blanket statements from some teachers isn't helpful. They don't really provide good arguments. They just say don't use AI and that's it. It's not like they're not telling you don't use it because this type of stuff can't be conveyed through AI.
Good to
Somebody
know.
had a question?
I was just going to say, it kind of depends on your fundamental understanding of what school is. Is it preparing you for the workforce, or is it purely just teaching you things? Because like one example that I can give is like long division. Very few people know how to do it by hand still because we have calculators. It is a technology that has come along that now there's no point to do it by hand. It's always going to be slower. It's always going to be less efficient. AI in ways can be used as a tool to massively speed up our workflow, which is what we'll use it for in the workforce. So learning it to do it the slow way when we're never going to ever use it the slow way in the workforce is one way. But then also, like Nigesh said, learning the basics means when things do go wrong and you can't necessarily use technology, you still have the background. So I think it's just a play on what you think the importance of teaching is.
I just wanted you to stir this conversation.
No, I understand.
Thank you.
I guess my metric is a little different. My metric is a little higher level. And the metric is, first thing is, can AI truly be unbiased? Because if you're using models and information from AI, and if you don't understand whether what creates those models is biased or unbiased, right? You can convert, and if your brain is not engaged, you can make wrong decisions. I'll put a controversial name here, but remember 25 years ago, people used to say black people are very good in basketballs, kind of sport, right? Those are blanket statements, right? That if you are going to put that data, that then biases and that eliminates everybody else from being a good basketball player. It's not. There is no 1:1 correlation. Things like people from Asia are good in math. We have already biased that, right? So that's one. The second thing is whether AI, whatever you are doing, is it good for the planet? I know I'm talking really high level, but if you're destructing the planet, you're destructing who we as humans are, is that worth the power of AI? And the last thing is, what happens to the truth in AI world? What is truth? What does it mean to be true? You might see things that AI tells you, but what is the real truth? Are you being manipulated by data? Are you manipulated by some pharma company thinking, taking this? I mean, look at TV today. Keytruda, this, that. You're bombarded saying, go back to your physician if you are having this and that, type 1 diabetes. You should, what is being done is the pharmas are bombarding your brain to pull you into bias. None of them ever talk about lifestyle changes, right? They are saying, take this drug, take this drug. All of these to me is that the truth, or pharmas are manipulating the data to make you want to do things? So those are kind of I'll give you one example, by the way. I didn't go through, I'm trying to catch up on time, but if a wrong decision is made, for example, if you get into, if a autonomous vehicle gets into an accident, who is responsible? Is the vehicle, the software, the hardware, who is responsible? Should AI have rights and personhood? You probably have heard this story, I don't remember exactly, where the next version of code was going to come out, and the AI program understood that they were going to be replaced, and the AI model still changed the tone so that the person who was looking for the next better version was demoted and fired because the AI tool found that it was being replaced by the next version. Now, to me, this is where AI is taking over your life. And I mentioned about, is AI being sustainable for planet? I mean, yes, you want to do AI technology, but it is going to consume kilowatts of energy. Where do you bring that? Where do you bring water for people? Where do you bring breathable air? Right? So if it is, I won't go through, I think we talked about, what if AI gets in the hands of the people who want to control your life? Autocrats, rogue nations, right? How do you differentiate between that? So there are a lot of ethical problems there as well. This is one thing that I found recently is, somebody asked, is this mushroom edible? AI said yes. And then that was a deadly mushroom. The person died. Now who is responsible? Right? Are the models responsible? AI responsible? The person who ate the mushroom responsible? I just wanted to throw that as a. I think it goes back to now what it means to students, faculty, and future learning. So for students, I think you're mentioning about that, but AI tutors available are 24/7. Not all tutors are available 24/7, okay? At night, 2 o'clock, you're working on an assignment. The AI agent knows what your learning style is, how you learn, how much you know, and the tutor automatically adjusts its delivery. Research acceleration, we talked about protein synthesis. We talked about a lot of other things where it would take 40, 50, 60 years, and now with the speed of AI, if you have you're working on a problem, a research problem, your PhD, and you want to accelerate, synthesize 100 papers in a minute, not weeks. New skills to monitor, to master. And at the end of it, there is academic integrity challenge, right? Learn with AI, not from AI blindly. That's how it is supplementing your own thinking. For faculty, it's about automating grading. Because I used to teach, and grading is not fun, because you're taking the same math paper and checking it for 100 students. I would rather have somebody else do that mundane task. Course generator. I recently wrote a 4-month course on optometry. And if I would have done it manually, it would have taken forever. So I gave some very specific prompts. I said, I want to build an 8-week course. And I said, I want, give me curriculum, give me quizzes, give me exams, give me YouTubes. And I'll share it with you at the end if you have time. I created a probably 50-page document of the entire curriculum of an optometry course, week by week, what I should be teaching, how should I be teaching, what video should I be showing, what assignment should I be giving. And it's not like I'm going to fully trust it, but it gave me a starting point at 90% and then only added about 10% other than typing the whole curriculum. Of course, nowadays we want to know whether it's AI generated, so there are tools for checking AI, whether something is created by AI. And then the opportunity to redesign assignments around synthesis, right? Not recall. I think AI literacy, as I mentioned in the tagline, is a new foundational skill like reading and writing. Just like we used to do financials by hand, now there came spreadsheets and we learn from them, and then came formulas so we can do if-then analysis. I think this is kind of the next thing is look to the data and tell me about such and such. I think it's not whether asking questions should AI be used in academic. I think as long as you're using it wisely. There are 3 key things that are happening at the same time. We have, I don't want to go too much into detail about what quantums and qubits are, but that's one way of accelerating algorithmic work that would have required tens of thousands of years, now it can be done in 10 minutes. So that's one thing that's happening. Robots are becoming part of your life. And AI, all of this confluence of this 3 is going to, if you use it rightly, is going to change your life. By the way, we are also talking about Nagesh and our experience on robotics from our 1980s courses that we did. And I actually work on a robot, and it's kind of strange. I'll give you this might be a little side thing, but I actually designed a robot which was delivering medicines. It was a mobile robot, and it went from place A to place B and delivered medicines. And how did it know where it was? And I had a standard sign on the wall, like a rectangle or a rhombus, and as it walked back and forth, the size of the robot started becoming smaller or bigger. So as I was going through a corridor, I knew exactly where I was standing. Now this was, some of the motors that were used had a battery. What was the battery doing? It was also keeping track of the battery usage, and when it found that it was around 5%, it stopped delivering medicines, went into a receptacle, and charged itself. And now I'm looking at, what is that called? iRobot, right, at home. And I feel like, my God, I was doing this probably 25 years ago in a very rudimentary manner. And it took probably 10 minutes for it to do all the algorithmic work that we are now doing in microseconds. But let me go over quickly. Today's we have large language models we are doing from level 5 to level 6, from generative to agentic AI. And we are dealing with complex problems. in quantum computing now with higher number of qubits, it's still there are still some problems in terms of keeping the temperature of the computer at a very low level so that the errors are lesser and less. Today we have the capacity. Today we can encrypt things, 256 encryption, but now you can even look at the data and use all the 200 whatever 2 to the power. I forgot how much it is, but so many combinations you can sift through and look at and look at keys and decode anything and everything. Today is possible to decode anything and everything without even a key, because you are just going to sift through all the keys until something makes sense. And you probably have seen Boston Robotics. I think they got acquired now, but you are, and I could be wrong, but now places like Chernobyl, right? You don't want humans to go in. You want actually robots to go in and do a lot of work in straight up hormones. We are talking about mines. You want robots to be figuring out where the mines are. There's a lot of hazardous work. All these three things are. I mean, I'm seeing with my own eyes the acceleration with these three things to coming together is just gone for hundreds of years to now 5 seconds, 10 minutes, and 2 minutes. That's the acceleration that three of them are helping.
Sandeep, one question
Yes,
on previous one. In terms of quantum computing, the speed of processing this is mind-bogglingly at a high level. What about energy consumption for the speed which you get? Is it saving energy, or cooling all that is a very difficult task, right? That's energy consuming. So what's the energy footprint of, like some idea of this versus current?
I don't have exact data, but I'll tell you, this is much cheaper because your system might be very size limited. I mean, these are not huge computers, it's not the size of a building. And I think we have technology to cool things. Today we can, I shouldn't say just order from Amazon, but today you can buy helium, for example, liquid helium. You can buy xenon and all the inert gases. So I think we have that technology to cool. The question is, to keep it cooling, you need energy. But I think it's, to the best that I know, it's still much less than running huge data centers with gigawatts. Any other question, guys?
Just an observation, Sandy.
Yeah.
Recent wars are being fought with robotic soldiers.
Yeah.
Like in Ukraine, they've introduced robots to fight some of that Ukraine war, to minimize casualties, human casualties. So that's another example of where robots are coming in.
I'll make a future prediction on beyond that. I think I forgot who was it. I don't know how the Third World War is going to manifest itself, but I know exactly how the Fourth World War is going to be played. It is going to be fought with sticks and swords. Because by the time we would have annihilated ourselves so much that we will have to use sticks and swords to fight with each other. So I think I'm an old generation, so I'm putting this on all of you young generations. It's your collective knowledge and wisdom to make sure that that doesn't happen. Right? I might be gone in 20 years, but you still have 60 years ahead of you. That's a challenge for you. It's a big challenge. So free learning resources, you probably have seen, I can provide you a list. There are the Coursera. You don't have to get a grade, but if you just want to take a course, all of them are free. Just audit the course, no payment is required. Google has tons of courses. Stanford has tons of courses. MIT has tons of courses. They are free. All you have to do is, what you have to do is, when you learn these, don't use AI. You actually are learning from these courses. Don't let AI to learn AI. You actually go through the motions of really learning. Because at the end of the day, you want to fundamentally understand how classification is done, how regression is done, how deep learning is done. You really want to know, in a learning fashion. Patrick Wilson's AI course is available free on MIT on OpenCourseWare. It's one of the greatest intellectual gifts of internet age. He died in 2019, but has lectures that are still on that you can read. Stanford has a course CS229. Andrew Nutt, machine learning course. He's a pioneer in that. I know a bunch of people also. The guy who won the Turing Award, who was with Meta, he has now retired since then. There are lots of courses there. I think all that requires is your desire and passion to learn. Nothing prevents you from learning. You don't necessarily need a professor. Professor is useful to ask questions, but sit down and learn all of these courses for you by yourself.
So there's only one question, because in business school, we don't have, after they leave high school, the STEM foundations are not reinforced a lot, right? I think, from correct, most business school students don't have to take a class in computer science to graduate. It looks like, it may change in the future, right? I've been to these schools. These are a little bit more, if you are going towards CIS kind of major, or engineering majors or science majors. What materials have you seen for business school students to see these things in a very business world of explain applications or some thoughts or how things are being done or not? I have not seen there any materials of that kind available that easily.
Yeah. So this material that you are saying, you are right. It's knowing about what a four-stroke engine is, how the transmission works and everything. And then the side is, now that you have a car with plush everything, how do you use the car? And I think the in business world is to see how do I use that car to go from place A to place B. And you can use there is one course I think about, I don't know if it's here, how to write prompts.
Okay.
To get what you want. I can show you some of the work that I do. I ask some really complex questions and sift through the data. I'll give you one example. There is something called corporate social responsibility in India, meaning companies who earn above a certain threshold have to reinvest 1% of their profit back into the society. So I basically said, hey, I want a list of all the CSRs, corporate social responsibility companies, who are working in the area of eye care. He gave me a list. Then I said, how do I apply for these? Do you have a good model as to what will stick with them? And if I want to write a proposal, what's a good likely template so that I get probably through the very first time? Then I said, can you give me the emails, name and phone numbers of these? Then I said, can you write individually letters for me? Right? So it created 25 letters, which I would have typed. But it told me where to send the letters, how to send the letters, who to contact, how to maximize your chances for getting writing to the foundations and getting money that you require. So all of that is I can do it, but I want somebody else to do it. That's where
You can in terms of knowing the chances, you would not know that, right? It sifts through all the proposals, they be accepted, not accepted, what funding. It has a lot of that information from which it's suggesting do this because the chance is high, right? So that part of it is using some information that we as humans would not have access to analyze.
So as far as the business part is concerned, I'll give you another example. We use what are called stiff glasses. For babies who are from 0 to 3 or 4 years old, they have silicone-based soft glasses. And I know the business model for these glasses. Who are the distributors, where they are made, how they come to US, how they come, everywhere. And I had no idea about these soft glasses. So I said, can you tell me the business model? It told me the business model of how who makes them, how they are produced. When they come on US border, I asked them, how much tariff do you have to pay? When they come to distributors, it gave me the complete financial model in detail. I asked, for example, India imports $530 million worth of frames lens blanks, and raw material that makes these plastic lenses. And I have no idea. So I basically said, hey, can you tell me what raw materials are needed? Where are they made? Can you tell me split between rural versus this? Which are the companies who are making these glasses? Can you tell me what types of frames, what chemicals are used? He told me everything in detail. Where in India are they made? He told me the detail. They give me business model for lens card. They give me lens business model for all the companies. Right? All of that. By my research thesis. And I don't think that's stealing. Because that data is out there. You might take 5 months. We are accelerating that to get all the business models run through. And I can share, if we have time and if I have network connection, I can show you how it is done. So AI for the bottom line of the pyramid. One of the things that I wanted to bring in is there are almost half of the world earns less than $2.50 per day. So you can use AI for what I call sexy things. You know, building dams and going to Mars and space, this, whatever. Right? And then there are half of the population who worries about how am I going to cook food? Where do I get the food? How do I make education available for my children? How do I live a basic dignified life? Where do I go for excretion? You know, number one, number two. Where do I find commodes? Where do I get haircuts? We don't think about it. We live in such a first world country. We don't care about these things. Rest of the world, look at Thailand to Laos to China to India to Africa. The question is, how can AI help in healthcare? How can AI help in reducing amount of grain produced per acre, right? When to sow, when to water, what kind of, I was an advisor for a company in a place called Nashik in India. You know, her company is in an area where they have big warehouses, and in these big warehouses, all the farmers dump in their onions. And these storages are like 200 feet by 400 feet by 20 feet high, filled with onions, right? And the question is, many times what happens is one onion goes bad. That onion starts affecting all the onions around. And what was happening was 40% of your, so what do these people do? They have to go in and take out the bad stuff out. And they were losing 40% onion. So what did we do? I worked with them. I said, when onions go bad, what do they create? They create ammonia. So we looked at ammonia sensors. We are putting it on probes every 5 or 10 feet. And so we knew exactly where the onion was going bad, so the farmer can go directly to that, take out the bad stuff. So the whole idea was to take the produce, which is going 40% bad, to maybe single digit, 3 or 4%. So that's what I mean by using it in education and creating clean water. So if you are going to go out in the future and use AI, my suggestion is also find in the back of your mind, how am I going to help the population at large? There are basic problems around energy, water, sanitation, health, dignity in life, education. So these are some of the examples here, and take a look at that. This is my last slide. I think my suggestion to all of you is spend about 20 minutes a day on at least one free course. And you have to have discipline, you have to have rigor, meaning every Sunday at 4 o'clock I'm going to sit there for 1 hour, put it on your calendar, that's how it's going to get done. Spend 20 minutes and treat it like AI gym, just like you go every day and work out at gym. Build something, find a way to automate a report. A lot of the reports I write now are automated. I write stories, I write short stories, and I have probably 100 of them. And I just fed the story into Claude and said, just create a book for me. So it created the front page, it created table of contents, it created, and I said, by the way, these stories that I write, there are some time elements. So I said, rearrange the story so that chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, it starts with my childhood and my high school years and my college years. All of that, it did it for me. So find something useful to automate a report or create a class tool or write a prompt library. Ask hard questions, who benefits the AI that you build? At the end of the day, you're not doing it for fun or just to get great. You're doing it because it's doing something meaningful. And one question is, who might be harmed by that? And then direct your talent towards problems that matter. 84% of them are waiting. Meaning, does it really matter to create some sexy videos that you can make a reel and get 5,000 likes? And what's the use of all that? Or you're using it for solving a true problem in medicine, a true problem in space, in creating new materials, in creating new composites. Use it for something worthwhile. So that's what my suggestion is. I'm here, I'll wait here as long as you have questions. If you have questions offline, you can direct them to Nagesh, and we can find out a way to answer your questions even offline. Because I'm very passionate about my subject, so I'm not here just coming in, maybe I took a little more than an hour, but my idea is not to just give and then vanish. We can still continue to have dialogue even after that. Okay, I'm here to help, because this is my way of giving back to the society.
Thank you so much.